Chapter 1301, Big Gambling. From beginning to end, Nine Nether Swordmeister no longer asked Tang Xiu's true identity. It was like the common saying that said the friendship between men may appear indifferent but was pure like water. After all, it was their first meeting and it was natural not to disclose everything about each to the other. Quickly after, an outstandingly graceful woman waltzed into the ring of the convict arena. Wearing a black combat attire, she looked around and announced in a deep voice, "The next gladiator deathmatch will definitely make your blood boil, and you should know the fighters' names and their records. Without further ado, let us meet Battle Pong and Vasif." As her voice faded away, everyone's eyes were focused on the entrance of the shelled arena. Thousands of gamblers in the whole auditorium got up the moment two figures appeared, shouting the name of the fighter they bet on. Early Stage Golden Immortal, Battle Pang. Mid-Stage Golden Immortal, Vasif. A smile on his face, Nine Nether Swordmeister turned to Tang Xiu and said, "An early stage against a mid-stage Golden Immortal. Battle Pang has 48 wins out of 49 bouts. The only time he failed was due to his weakening state after a severe injury, giving up his chance to kill his dying opponent. Vasif, on the other hand, has 60 wins out of 62 fights where he brutally killed each of his opponents every time. He's one of the cruelest golden immortals in this convict arena, and also one who lived the longest here. What do you think about the fight between these two, great Tang Lil bro? Who'll end up the victor?" Tang Xiu silently recalled the two men's records and their specific information. After a few minutes, he slowly said, "It will be Battle Pang." Nine Nether Swordmeister shook his head and smilingly said, "I used to like going against the mainstream as well. The more people think one side is impossible to win, the more likely I place my bet on such a guy. Kinda makes me thrilled every time the fight goes in reverse, you know." How about betting on this fight, then? No need to play much, just bet a small number. How would you like the gamble to be carried out, Nine Nether bro? Tang Xiu smilingly asked. A glimmer of light flashed in Nine Nether Swordmeister's eyes. "I'll teach you my 9 Nether 18 swords if you win. But you only need to give me the 1,000,000 crystal essences that Empyrean Pole Lady gave you. How about it?"
Nah.
Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "Nine Nether bro has fearsome cultivation and the 9 Nether 18 swords you created can be counted as an extremely powerful divine ability in the immortal world. Pity that I don't lack divine arts and the likes, so let's just bet with 1,000,000 crystal essences. Besides, it's the fairest means for both of us." "Fair enough." Nine Nether Swordmeister shot a meaningful look at Tang Xiu, feeling that his judgment was correct. This guy in front of him was definitely a very powerful figure before, so he broke into hearty laughter and added, 1,000,000 crystal essences, then. Let us have such pocket money." "Pocket money? Small change your ass." Tang Xiu grumbled and cursed inwardly. To the present him, 1,000,000 crystal essences that was equal to 100 million immortal crystals was a huge number. Just using it to purchase cultivation resources alone would probably provide enough resources for all the great Tang Empire's members for centuries. Inside the convict arena's match cell, neither joyful nor gloomy, Battle Pong calmly observed the aggressive-looking Vasif in the opposite direction. Every time he entered the arena to fight, his one and only goal was to survive, instead of killing his opponent. Life in the convict arena was dark and seemingly only consisted of endless fighting. He knew that only by securing a victory would he be able to keep surviving. He still had that spark of hope burning in his heart. To gain the appreciation of some great personage who would buy him from this hellhole. Even if he were to follow this person to blaze through the killings in the future, it was still much better than staying in this hellhole for eternity. Far much better. The fight begins. As the graceful, stylish woman called out, Vasif turned over and brandished his blade. The moment he stormed over Battle Pong 100 meters away, the blade beam had already crushed down. Battle Pong quickly cast various seals. Overlapping layers of light shield appeared in front of him. Even though the blade constantly smashed the enchantment, the countless blade strikes were still warded off the moment they were half a meter away from Battle Peng. A silver spear suddenly appeared in Battle Peng's hands out of the blue. The spear shadow emitted a blazing flame that was covered by countless golden runes and blasted through the blade shadows in front. Boom. They retreated at the same time, each forced backwards several kilometers before barely being able to stabilize their bodies. Bloodthirst gleamed in Vasif's eyes. Licking his dry lips, he grinned ferociously. I've watched 24 of your fights and researched the secrets of your divine arts, Battle Peng. You may be able to trade blows with me if you were to advance to another level and become a mid-stage golden immortal. But your present strength will only serve as a stepping stone to let me live longer. Today, I, Vasif, will use your blood to add one more victory to my excellent record. With that said, with the 100-meter-long black lacquer chain in his body as the foundation, a dark mist expelled out and covered his whole body. Right at that moment, he rushed toward Battle Peng again, and his blade fiercely cleaved down while the chains whirled around the blade images. The black mist was as though a fluctuating slithering serpent that brought with it an aura of death. Relying on your higher cultivation and daring to be arrogant, huh? You're courting your own death. Fighting and killing those at a higher level is just a common occurrence in the immortal world. I'll help fulfill your wish to die, then. A cold light gleamed in Battle Peng's eyes. He waved his hand and the spear in his hand turned into a blasting arrow that streaked up to the sky and shot down to the sprinting Vasif. On the contrary of the difficult-to-turn flying arrow, the spear shadow seemed to have linked with a silvery bond and kept changing its trajectory layer by layer. Lightning Weave Spear. The moment Battle Peng stepped on the spear shadow, a blazing flame burst out of his body, transforming his appearance into a blazing incarnation of the war god. He kept casting many arts and unleashed swift and fierce killing blows. Boom. A formation array had been laid out around the arena cell, so the power impact from the clash between these two men had no effect on the outside no matter how powerful it was. The crisscrossing blazing flame and the lingering black mist. The two men kept unleashing various supernatural powers. The fast consumption began to show and Vasif gradually gained the upper hand. However, it was just a slight upper hand as wounds began covering his body the more time passed, suffering various crises. Taking advantage of your sickness demands your life on the line. As time passed, Vasif, who had been fighting for several hours, suddenly had the black combat blade on his body suddenly fly up. As the blade light slashed toward Battle Peng in nearly the blink of an eye, the black tabard suddenly swelled up quickly and Vasif instantly appeared in front of Battle Peng. Kill. Another blade swept across Battle Peng's neck in an instant. Space Condense. Battle Peng seemed to have expected such a move. His hands moved and he cast a seal. The moment that blade swept across his neck, his fingers turned claw-shaped. His seemingly casual movement made the space in front of his throat to become distorted. In the next moment, the twisted space was indefinitely magnified and the impact force instantly shook Vasif's body and made him suddenly retreat. Late. Battle Peng hideously grinned. As the surging immortal force rushed into the spear's shadow, it pierced through Vasif's chest. Vasif was dumbfounded with disbelief. Battle Peng gradually faded out behind Vasif with a short sword in his hand that impaled his back deeply. The violent immortal force had destroyed Vasif's heart core and decimated all his internal organs. The next moment, the spear appeared out of thin air and directly blew Vasif away. Let's die together. Vasif's body suddenly rose and a phantom of golden light flashed out of his body. Although his body was flying backward, the golden phantom moved like a lightning bolt and instantly turned into a long blade and powerfully cleaved down to chop Battle Peng's head. Puff. Battle Peng held the short sword in front of his forehead to counter the strike. As the long blade hit and broke the short sword, instead of striking Battle Peng's head, it cut off his palm holding the short sword. Boom. The long blade violently exploded and the explosion sent Battle Pang's body upside down for tens of kilometers, before he hit the ground heavily. Whoosh! A figure flickered lightning fast and appeared in front of Battle Pang instantly. A pink mist sprayed out from the hands of that person and gathered Battle Pang's chopped-off wrist and his blood. A golden thread then wrapped the chopped-off hand and quickly reconnected it for Battle Pang. This immortal accruing bewitching mist can make your wrist return to its original stage within 3 days. But remember not to fight with anyone during the time. The outstandingly graceful woman glanced at Vasif's mangled body, then she floated up and departed. Battle Pang got up from the ground with difficulty, his eyes full of indifference to life. After crawling up, he gently moved his lower arm. He didn't even glance to the auditorium full of cheers and curses outside and just gradually disappeared, outside the prison arena's entrance. In the auditorium, a smile crept up on the corner of Tang Xiu's mouth. He turned to Nine Nether Swordmeister and with a forced smile and said, "Well, seems like I won this bet, yes?" The man nodded and his palms stroked his fat cheeks, asking curiously, "How were you able to judge that Battle Pang would come out the victor, though?" "There were some clues in his information," Tang Xiu replied. "It's written on it that he's suspected to be proficient in some spatial techniques. However, he has never used any spatial manipulating abilities in his previous fights. Maybe you still don't understand, so I'll put it more straightforwardly. My guess is that he has the ability to manipulate space. Besides, I think every expert who can survive to be a golden immortal has at least one trump card." Nine Nether Swordmeister creased his brows. "There's one thing I don't get. Why didn't he use his spatial manipulating ability when he was almost killed by his enemy before? That's why he lost that battle." Tang Xiu narrowed his eyes and thoughtfully said, "If I'm not mistaken, he should be concealing his strength. It may even be possible that he's not an early-stage golden immortal." "You said he's not an early-stage golden immortal?" Nine Nether Swordmeister was surprised. "How is that possible?" Chapter 1302, Super Bodyguards. Instead of answering, Tang Xiu slightly smiled and asked back, "Then, how far has your cultivation realm reached, Nine Nether Big Bro?" Nine Nether Swordmeister was stunned for a moment, then he slowly said after thinking a long time, "Well, I was trapped for more than 2 millenniums at the mid-stage golden immortal and had no chance to break through to the late stage before." "Why do you ask?" Tang Xiu didn't answer his question and asked again instead, "If you can cast the heaven-obscuring art, what level of cultivation would you normally expose to the others?" "The heaven-obscuring art?" Nine Nether Swordmeister was surprised. "You mean Battle Pang is proficient in the heaven-obscuring art? You must know that the heaven-obscuring art is a secret art unique to Venerable Thunder, right? It's well known that Venerable Thunder has a total of 4 disciples, but Battle Pang is surely not one of them. It's just easy for anyone to deliberately conceal their cultivation level, but not just anyone can avoid stronger detection. I believe Venerable Thunder and his 4 disciples can pull it off, but can others do it?" "I don't think so." Tang Xiu shook his head and said, "You just mentioned some good words, well known. But is there no exception or special case? There are countless powerful people in the immortal world and uncountable great supernatural beings. Maybe there's a heaven-defying peerless genius who can work out some art that's nearly similar to the heaven-obscuring art of Venerable Thunder, no?" Nine Nether Swordmeister nodded solemnly. "What you said makes sense. It seems that I still underestimated the experts of the immortal world." Having said that, he regretfully sighed. "You know, those great experts who love to stir up trouble all vanished without a trace, died, or isolated themselves from the world. I've been wanting to see what chaos they could stir up in the immortal world, but it's hard to see powerhouses fighting nowadays. Else, the great experts' techniques would have continued to be spread out and be understood by us." Tang Xiu shook his head in silence, sighing. Back in the past, he was such an expert himself, as was said by Nine Nether Swordmeister, one who loved to stir up troubles. He always created chaotic scenes in the immortal world before he met Shui Qingcheng. Even after he became a great expert, a supreme, he triggered countless high-level battles. Among them, no less than 10 supremes were killed by his own hands, and as many as tens of thousands of great experts, at the perfected golden immortal stage. Bluntly put, he had waded the blood river and stepped on the top of a mountain of corpses in order to become a supreme. Looking at 9 Nether Swordmeister's complex expression, Tang Xiu slowly said, I don't think the immortal world will stay peaceful like this for a long time, though. Some weak people are bound to become stronger, and some of them will naturally rise up and then cause chaos. Well, I've heard of someone a while back. He seems to be quite jubilant in creating such noises now. Huh? 9 Nether Swordmeister was surprised. Who's this guy? Myriad Pills Immortal Monarch, answered Tang Xiu. 9 Nether Swordmeister frowned and disdain appeared in his eyes as he lightly said, he did make quite some noise recently. He's a perfected golden immortal, but he can kill for experts of the same level, quite a rare feat nowadays, indeed. But you don't seem to be well informed, great Tang Lil bro. About 3 years ago, that brat was chased for a full 6 months and nearly met his maker countless times. If it wasn't for his martial brothers coming to his rescue and his master, Great Emperor Dan Qing, who came out of his abode and arranged the 81 Immortals destruction array to trap his enemies in the formation, and refine them until they died, I don't think he'd be able to turn over any waves whatsoever. Tang Xiu's heart was full of murderous intentions, but on the surface, he calmly said, Great Emperor Dan Qing? Isn't he a supremacy stage powerhouse in the immortal world? He would actually go so far to kill and refine the lives of his disciples' enemies? 9 Nether Swordmeister was obviously reluctant to mention anything about Great Emperor Dan Qing and said lightly, in-name disciples are different from direct disciples. If in-name disciples die, then they just can go die. But if others were to kill direct disciples, that means a slap to the faces of these great figures. It would be hella strange if such people didn't take any action in regard to this matter. That makes me recall Star Cultivation Great Emperor who previously fully traveled across several hundred immortal domains, after his disciple was killed and personally slaughtered the entire sex of his disciple's enemies, shocking to most of the immortal world. Quite a popular temperament for others for being protective of his offspring. Star Cultivation Great Emperor? The murderous intention in Tang Xiu's heart was replaced by complicated emotions. No one in the immortal world was more familiar than him in regards to this name. It was because the name was a title belonging to a certain immortal world supreme, himself. Suddenly, Tang Xiu's expression shifted and he asked, 9 Nether brother, I heard you talk about this Star Cultivation Great Emperor, but I only heard of his legend. He seems to be a very impressive and powerful supreme. How come I haven't heard of his name for the last few centuries? He failed crossing his godhood tribulation and disappeared both in flesh and soul. 9 Nether Swordmeister sighed while shaking his head. He failed his divinity tribulation? How can that be? Tang Xiu pretended to be shocked. I heard that he was a genuine super-powerful expert in the entire immortal world, that even many great supremacy stage experts were not his opponent. 9 Nether Swordmeister sighed. I'm lost about that as well. Even innumerable great experts never expected that he would fail to cross the tribulation. Such divinity tribulation. Tang Xiu remained silent for a while before he said in a seemingly inadvertent way, I didn't expect that Star Cultivation Great Emperor had died. It seems he crossed grave crises in his path. By the way, I also heard that Star Cultivation Great Emperor came from the most powerful sect, the Holy Vermilion Bird sect. He once provoked so many enemies, so with him dead, it's very likely the Holy Vermilion Bird sect is now facing quite a difficult situation, yes? Read more chapter on VIPnovel.com. 9 Nether Swordmeister seemed to recall something. A contemptuous look filled his eyes as he indifferently said, the Holy Vermilion Bird sect is indeed facing quite an arduous situation now. Speaking of it, Star Cultivation Great Emperor was rather blind to me. He made 2 friends, but failed to reckon how his 2 buddies are even worse than pigs and dogs. After his failure in crossing the tribulation, his 2 buddies even said that Star Cultivation had humiliated them. Together, they found many supremes and perfected golden immortals who had grievances with him to attack the Holy Vermilion Bird sect. Nearly half of the Holy Vermilion Bird sect's brilliant and boundless prospect disciples were killed. The rest is now hiding in the Holy Vermilion Bird's holy land, relying on the 2 supremacy stage experts in the sect, guarding the sect's array and struggling on while at death's door. Such a thing happened? Tang Xiu was shocked and asked again, did the disciples of Star Cultivation Great Emperor, his former subordinates, and even other friends just tolerate these people bullying the Holy Vermilion Bird sect? When the tree fell, the monkeys scattered. Everyone just pushed the already collapsing wall. 9 Nether Swordmeister sighed. A trivial profound immortal guy said these 2 lines, but everyone in the immortal world thinks that the analogy is on the mark. It's certain that this is not something that can be generalized. Star Cultivation Great Emperor once had countless disciples and showed grace to innumerable powerful people. Those powerhouses who accepted and knew his kindness and wanted to pay him back all came forward and participated in the fighting for hundreds of years. Millions died in the war and the rest retreated after the chaos. Although they retreated, they still announced that if anyone dared to provoke the Holy Vermilion Bird sect again, they would still move forward without hesitation to stand up for them. Having said that, 9 Nether Swordmeister seemed unwilling to continue speaking about this heavy topic anymore. He took out 1,000,000 crystal essences and handed it to Tang Xiu, saying, "It's your win." Despite the complex mood, Tang Xiu smiled and, after accepting 1,000,000 crystal essences in full, said smilingly, "This younger brother will respectfully accept these crystal essences. Anyway, 9 Nether bro, you're a solemn perfected golden immortal yourself. But I can tell you seem to respect Star Cultivation Great Emperor through your words. Did you also participate in the rally to support the Holy Vermilion Bird sect?" "That's of course. I owe Star Soul Supreme a great favor, so how could I just stand idly by when the Holy Vermilion Bird was in trouble?" 9 Nether Swordmeister sighed. Even that confused Empyrean Pole lady also participated in it. Madame Empyrean Pole was also involved in it? Tang Xiu was surprised. Does she also have a relationship with someone from the Holy Vermilion Bird sect?
Nah.
She took action on behalf of Celestial Pole Oldster. 9 Nether Swordmeister shook his head. That guy has quite a deep friendship with Star Cultivation Emperor. Suddenly, he stared at Tang Xiu and shifted the topic. "Tang Lil bro, you seem to be very interested in the affairs of Star Cultivation Great Emperor and the Holy Vermilion Bird sect, did you?" Tang Xiu smiled in response. No. I'm just a nobody. How can I relate to those big guys? I'm just curious about the big chaos that happened in the past. However, it would be nice if I could relate to them, regardless. At least I can follow Star Cultivation Great Emperor. After all, he's a super expert, so I can walk unhindered in the immortal world with his protection, no? 9 Nether Swordmeister laughed aloud, and even the 2 voluptuous women at his sides couldn't help but burst into laughter. Tang Xiu grinned and laughed for some time before he said, "Well, even if I don't know Star Cultivation Emperor, it's a blessing to be able to meet you, 9 Nether brother. I'll just use your name if anyone dares to bully me in the future, no? When such a time comes, all the enemies hostile to me will surely be scared stiff and run away after hearing your name." 9 Nether Swordmeister rolled his eyes. Then, he smiled and said, "I got tons of enemies, you know. You can tell them my name if you're not afraid of the repercussion. Anyway, I've wasted a lot of time here, so I'm going back first. Where are you staying at, Tang Lil bro? I'll send you a notice when the betting time with my enemy comes." Tang Xiu thought for a while and said, "Just come to the stargazing pavilion." 9 Nether Swordmeister nodded. He then left Tang Xiu with a messenger and headed towards the outside while hugging the two enchanting women. As he walked outside for a kilometer, he transmitted his voice, "Go choose those 20 golden immortal gladiators yourself. I'll pay for them to the convict arena on your behalf. You don't need to worry about it. Thanks a bunch, brother Nine Nether." Tang Xiu cupped his fists. A bit of his gratitude was from paying for the golden immortals, but what he really thanked him for was Nine Nether helping the Holy Vermilion Bird sect. Chapter 1303 I'll Always Be Your Woman. Under Light Rain's lead, the custodian in charge of all kinds of customs in the convict arena returned to Tang Xiu and Gu Yan. After her beautiful eyes landed on Tang Xiu, she smiled and said, "Fellow immortal really has good eyes. It's your first bet and you won, worthy of congratulations. It's just a casual play." Tang Xiu smiled lightly. The attendant Light Rain respectfully handed the interspatial ring to Tang Xiu and said, "This is the immortal crystal you asked me to redeem for you. There are 2 million immortal crystals as your principal and 2 million more as your win, a total of 4 million immortal crystals." Tang Xiu took out 10 immortal crystal and threw them to her, saying, "The reward is yours. You can go tend to your other business." Light Rain hurriedly looked at the beautiful woman. The belle smiled and said, "It's a reward from a distinguished guest for you. Just take it. Fellow immortal Great Tang, Nine Nether Swordmeister just paid us 150 million immortal crystals for 20 golden immortal gladiators. Would you like to choose them now?" "What's the price of an early-stage golden immortal gladiator?" asked Tang Xiu. 4 million immortal crystals, answered the belle smilingly. Tang Xiu directly took out 4 million immortal crystals and indifferently said, "Battle Pang gave me a win worth 2 million immortal crystals, so I'll buy him while in passing." After a long while, Tang Xiu held 21 golden immortal soul plates and took them away from the convict arena. The identity and background of these 21 golden immortals were found on the documents given by the convict arena. Unless they were concealing their identities, they were not part of any hostile forces to him. At the moment, all 21 golden immortals, including Battle Pung, looked at Tang Xiu with grateful eyes. Although they found that the person who spent such enormous sum to buy them was just an ordinary immortal, who even had yet to reach the Earth Immortal stage, it was undeniable that he saved them from such a perverted and abnormal place that was the convict arena, and gave them a second chance in life. At the Stargazing Pavilion, the elderly golden immortal was sitting in the accountant room while silently thinking about some issues. After a long while, he sent out orders, and, soon after, the entire protected Stargazing Pavilion was ready to open for business. On the surface, the guards of the establishment were still the same as before, but a large number of the pavilion's experts were hiding in the dark. Once any crisis occurred, these experts would appear immediately. "Damn that brat." The elderly golden immortal cursed while smiling after issuing that order, feeling vexed inwardly when he recalled those tens of millions of immortal crystals. "Sir." A figure appeared out of thin air in front of the elderly golden immortal. "What's the matter?" The old man picked up the colored glass and sipped his tea. "The free meal our Stargazing Pavilion just served before has caused us quite the losses, sir. But that great Tang fellow has come back again. The attendant is now taking him to the middle tower." Puff. The elderly golden immortal choked and his complexion turned purple. After coughing severely for some time, his eyes gleamed with anger. Slamming the table, he furiously yelled, "Go and get rid of that freeloader brat. What the hell does he think our Stargazing Pavilion is?" "Understood." The man complied and turned to leave. The elderly golden immortal took a deep breath and called again before the man left, "Bah, forget it. Stay out of this matter. I'll deal with him myself." The visitor wore an odd expression, but he still respectfully complied and left quickly. The elderly golden immortal rubbed his brows and a bitter smile painted his old face. He could have freely driven someone away, but he recalled that this kid was someone appreciated by his lady, Madame Empyrean Pole. he could only bite the bullet and swallow the bitterness since he couldn't drive this guy away no matter how unwilling he was. Quickly after, the elderly golden immortal came to the middle tower. As he ascended to the 88th floor, he walked straight towards the portal and opened the door. After seeing more than 20 men and women in ragged clothes sitting on the long table on both sides, he immediately frowned. Damn, this really vexes me. He really wished he could rush to Tang Xiu and slap this brat after seeing the attires of these 21 men and women. What did he think the stargazing pavilion was for? So special that he even brought these beggars? However, just as he cursed twice inwardly, his expression suddenly went stiff because, at the moment, the 21 ragged men and women turned their attention to him at the same time. The burst of their auras made him tremble. 21. Golden Immortals? Even most of them were all Golden Immortal late-stage experts? The elderly Golden Immortal dared to swear to heaven that there was absolutely no Golden Immortals among more than 200,000 people Tang Xiu called out from that heavenly abode artifact last time. These 21 people were absolutely not one of them. The moment Tang Xiu saw the arrival of the elderly Golden Immortal, he immediately let out a smile. He got up and greeted him. Well, we are to harass you again, manager. I invited my 21 new subordinates to dine here, so please take out your best wines and dishes. Relax, I won't be freeloading in your stargazing pavilion today. I'll pay for the meal from my own pocket. The elderly Golden Immortal bitterly smiled and replied, Great Tang Immortal friend, you really are. Hey, forget it. There are only 20 more of you, so the meal is still free. But you also know that we're just a small business here, so I can only provide you with 23 servings. If you wish it so, then so be it, elderly. Tang Xiu grinned. The elderly Golden Immortal helplessly shook his head and turned to leave. Tang Xiu sat back on his chair again, looking at the silent and smiling Gu Yan. Then, he glanced at the 21 Golden Immortal subordinates and said in a deep voice, I've purchased you from the convict arena and you can say that I gave you all a second life. I don't care about your past identity or what you've been through. But from today on, it'll be the same as you've already died. My name is Great Tang Heavenly Emperor. You just call me Master. From today on, your only task is to protect my safety and obey my orders. Of course, I won't be harsh on you. As long as you're loyal to me and devoted to your work, I'll provide you with a lot of cultivation resources and will treat you as my confidants. I don't have many rules, but you are not to kill people easily without my orders. After saying that, Tang Xiu took out a cigarette from his interspatial ring, lit it up, and took a few puffs. Under the gaze of these 21 people, he continued, Certainly, I'm also giving you a chance. Keep loyal to me and you'll earn your freedom 5,000 years later. By then, whether you choose to stay with me or leave, I'll respect your decision. What? The 21 Golden Immortals exchanged disbelieving glances. They never dreamed that the master who bought them would actually give them such a promise. 5,000 years. If they could obtain cultivation resources constantly, and with their aptitudes, it was hopeful for them to have a breakthrough in their cultivation. At the time they broke through to the perfected Golden Immortal stage, they would be able to live and regain their freedom. Thank you, Master. The 21 men and women got up one after another, got down on one knee, and saluted Tang Xiu respectfully. Tang Xiu happily nodded and motioned them to sit back again, saying, To welcome you joining me, I invite you for a big feast today. In addition, I'll also give you something else. With that said, Tang Xiu gently spread his hand and suddenly, 21 interspatial rings appeared in front of each one of them. Tang Xiu then said, You can find 1 million immortal crystals, 2 sets of combat robes, and immortal weapons in each interspatial ring. Additionally, there are some medicinal pills and elixirs with various effects. Those are my gifts for you. Thank you, Master. The 21 people stood up and knelt again. Most of them were excited before, but they felt grateful now. They found that their master turned out to be not some vicious and wicked person, but someone who would never easily ruin their lives. Tang Xiu nodded again and added, starting from today, you all will be unified under Battle Pang's command. His cultivation may not be as high as the rest of you, but I'm most familiar with him. Battle Pang hurriedly said, this subordinate will definitely obey master's orders and serve to the best of my abilities. Tang Xiu raised his hand and used a stream of energy to lift him up. He then nodded and said, there's also another thing I need to tell you in advance. I'm the Emperor of the Great Tang Empire. You may have never heard about the Great Tang Empire before. But in the future, you'll be a part of this great empire. Understood. 21 people replied respectfully. Everyone devoured all the dishes during the feast and enjoyed it to their heart's content. They hardly ever ate anything after they became deathmatch fighters in the convict arena. Even if they ate something and received some spirit fruits after winning their match each time. During the feast, the 4 female golden immortals' eyes even welled up with tears. Going through such happy events after the tribulations was truly blissful. After the feast, Tang Xiu booked 12 guest rooms at the Stargazing Pavilion, 1 room for every 2 golden immortal, whereas Battle Pang took one for himself as their leader. Would you like to have a separate room, Yan? Tang Xiu felt a headache as he looked at Gu Yan, who grinned at him. He couldn't help feeling desperate even though the door was right in front of him. Gu Yan didn't speak, but reached out and grabbed Tang Xiu's wrist, pulled him into the room, and then closed the door directly from the inside. Afterward, she made him sit on the chair inside and pressed his shoulders. She then took a deep breath and said with all seriousness, Master, I'll always use this address to call you, but I'm already the princess of the Great Tang Empire, which means that I'm your woman. I know that it's difficult for you to accept this in a short time, but I can wait as long as you don't shut me out. How can I ever shut you out? It's just... Master, let's give everything some time. I'll always be your woman unless I die. Chapter 1304 Running Out of Demon Stones. Deep inside Tang Xiu's heart, he couldn't just get past what had transpired. Looking at Gu Yan's serious expression, he had no other choice but to smile bitterly. He could not refuse bluntly as he could never hurt her. Perhaps, Yan is right. Let's just leave everything to time. Tang Xiu sighed inwardly and patted her shoulder, saying, let's just stay here to cultivate steadily for the next few days. 8 months are not a long time and will pass by in a flash. Besides, we now have a lot of cultivation resources. We don't have to worry about the cultivation issues of all members of the Great Tang Empire. Gu Yan put away her childish feelings and replied, most of the Great Tang Empire's members are humans from Earth. Although we've drilled them with the common sense of the immortal world, they have yet to really experience the atmosphere and environment here, after all. I think we should let them go out of the heavenly abode artifact in batches and let them go to the neighborhood to experience it, for the next 8 months. Tang Xiu's eyes lit up and he smilingly nodded. That good idea never crossed my mind. That's really great. You're right, they've followed us to the immortal world but have only been practicing on that barren planet. It's been 1.5 years, and the last time we let everyone out was to eat here. They still know too little about the situation of the immortal world.
Yeah,
Gu Yan added, uncut jades are worthless. Everyone needs to learn what they do not know. In the future, the Great Tang Empire's people will have to live and work hard in the immortal world. If they don't even understand many of the simplest common sense, they will be bound to suffer big losses in the future. In my opinion, let them feel the rushing of the big waves to the shores. They may be loyal to you and the Great Tang Empire, but I'm hoping the entire Great Tang Empire members to be the elites of the elites and the strong among the powerful. Tang Xiu slightly nodded and used his spiritual sense to communicate with the heavenly abode artifact. Soon after, Tang Along appeared in front of him. Looking at his curious expression, Tang Xiu faintly smiled. From today on, you'll follow me to learn and cultivate. In the next 8 months, The Great Tang Empire's members will come out of the Heavenly Abode artifact in batches to gain experience outside. That's awesome. Tang Alang was honestly surprised. The Empire members indeed want to come out of the Heavenly Abode artifact to see the real immortal world. Master, would you let me arrange them for the occasion? Well, you tell me, how will you do it? Tang Xiu chuckled. Tang Alang ruminated for a few minutes and then said, You just said that we're staying here for 8 months, Master. Let them all stay outside for 8 months, which will be contrary to your ideas. I suggest taking batches outside every 2 months. Each batch will consist of 60,000 members who will be led by one commander, whereas a deputy commander will be picked for every 10,000 people. Finally, after being layered on top of the other, every member who's 30 years or older must take care of 6 children of the 4 legions. A sound idea. It's really not easy to think of so much in such a short time, yet you can do it. Tang Xiu happily nodded. With your suggestion as a basis, make some necessary adjustments to ensure the safety of our Great Tang Empire's members. Afterward, prepare to start tomorrow. There's another issue I have in mind, Master. Tang Alang quickly interjected. Although every member has received immortal stones and crystals before, the number was few and everyone wants to use it to absorb and refine it so as to increase their cultivation. Could you send a notice to the Ministry of Finance to issue some more immortal stones for us? Tang Xiu thought for a while and said, Each person will have another 100 immortal crystals. As for how to use them, let them figure it out on their own. Tang Alang was elated and firmly nodded before he went back to the Heavenly Abode artifact to arrange everything. Tang Xiu then called Gu Xiaoxue out of the Heavenly Abode artifact, and directly gave her the 1 million crystal essences he won from 9 Nether Sword Meister. He wouldn't be using these crystal essences for some time. After all, his cultivation level was only at the immortal stage, and using it would be totally wasting resources. However, he had 35,680 immortal monsters under him, so Tang Xiu took out 100,000 crystal essences for them to temporarily use. Read more chapter on VIP novel. In an instant, 5 months passed by and there were only 3 months left from the gamble appointment between 9 Nether Sword Meister and his enemy. A total of 2 batches of 120,000 members of the Great Tang Empire had experienced life in the outside world, and made good progress, be it in their knowledge or strength. The 3rd batch was now outside broadening their experience. Certainly, the plan devised by Tang Alang was much more detailed than what he explained before. Therefore, although members of the Great Tang Empire were practicing outside, they didn't cause much trouble. Many minor troubles inevitably appeared, but all of them were easily solved. Additionally, Tang Su personally took command of the intelligence department to instruct them before he let them leave with immortal crystals. The task was outside their training range, but Tang Xiu ordered Jing and Yi Shan to reach the immortal Lyceum territory within 3 years no matter what method they used. The intelligence department only had 3,000 members in total. They were all powerful characters who were excellent at gathering intelligence. Although these 3,000 people were under Jing and Yi Shan's command, Tang Xiu still assigned 2 late-stage golden immortals to them. On a side note, there was also the Ministry of Execution under Tang An's leadership along with Feng Yang and Shui Gui. They were leading 500 assassination experts in the department. They were also going through the experience for these 8 months outside. It was Gu Xiaoxue and his aunt Tang Min who made Tang Xiu feel vexed and at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. Both of them were in charge of the Ministry of Finance. They learned the common sense in the immortal world during these 5 months, while at the same time, they applied their business sense, using 500,000 immortal crystals as their capital to earn more than 2 million immortal crystals. Such capability truly amazed Tang Xiu. At the stargazing pavilion, Tang Xiu sat cross-legged on a cushion, holding a demon stone in each palm, quickly absorbing and refining them to strengthen his power bit by bit. Finally, when the last 2 demon stones were thoroughly absorbed and refined, a wry smile appeared on his handsome face. The heavenly art of cosmic genesis was a cultivation art that even the demon gods regarded as a treasure. Absorbing immortal force had no significant effect as, at most, it could only make the primal chaos power in his body be more powerful. However, what he needed to break through most was his physique at the moment. Even without his cultivation base, he could crush ordinary immortals with pure physique strength. He was even confident to trade blows and defeat any of them. Yen. Tang Xiu looked at Gu Yan sitting cross-legged on the opposite side. Gu Yan opened her eyes and asked, "What's the matter, master?" "I'm going to take Along out for a walk and buy something while convenient," said Tang Xiu. "You just stay here and practice. But if I don't come back in a month, wait for the third batch of our personnel to return, and let the fourth batch of members go out for experience." Gu Yan thought for a while and said, "No problem, I'll take charge of the Heavenly Abode artifact. However, Master, you need to take out all those 17 golden immortals with you. Else, I'll be endlessly worrying about your safety." "No need to be that nervous." Tang Xiu shook his head and smilingly said, "Although the Hessen Castle's sphere of influence is very vast, we won't leave too far. Besides, the place where 9 Nether Swordmeister is staying at is not that far from here. I'll contact him immediately if I have to. I'm sure he can arrive in time. I'll be at ease if you bring more people, Master." Gu Yan insisted. All right. Tang Xiu said, "Then I'll take Battle Pong and 6 other golden immortals." "Okay." Gu Yan didn't make things more difficult. She believed that the golden immortals purchased from the convict area who could survive in such a fierce place where absolute battle-hardened characters were kept. Suddenly, Tang Xiu's complexion slightly changed. He instantly stretched his hand and quickly, Star Devourer insect flew out of his body. Right after, Tang Xiu heard its voice transmitted. "Immortal stones, immortal crystals, please give me tons of them quickly." Tang Xiu's expression slightly changed yet again. After giving the Heavenly Abode artifact to Gu Yan, he immediately took Star Devourer insect to the artifact space. When both of them appeared in an empty area, he quickly took out tens of thousands of immortal crystals from the interspatial ring and asked in a deep voice, "Are you breaking through, by chance?" "Yes." Star Devourer insect only responded shortly and let out a horrible devouring force that continuously swallowed the tens of thousands of immortal crystals. Immediately after, the Star Devourer insect's size began to expand. From a finger-sized state to 10 meters in height in just half a minute. Its huge body resembled a hill as it expelled out an enormous aura that made even Tang Xiu's expression slightly discolored. Taking a deep breath, Tang Xiu took out 1,000,000 immortal crystals from his interspatial ring and threw them to Soul Devourer insect. "I can give you however many you can swallow. Remember to strive to break through directly. The stronger you are, the better." "Understood." Star Devourer insect was joyful. Tang Xiu's assurance made the devouring force coming from it to get stronger and stronger as it quickly swallowed the 1,000,000 immortal crystals. Immediately after, its physique swelled up again. It took 8 days for its body to stop expanding before its aura began to stabilize at a certain high level. When it roared into the sky, Tang Xiu quickly moved and smacked it. "Shut the hell up, will you? Do you want to shock everyone in the Heavenly Abode or something?" Tang Xiu chided him furiously. Star Devourer insect quickly converged its aura and its body quickly shrank. In just a moment, it shrank to the size of a fist and floated in front of Tang Xiu, saying, "Ugh. I was a bit excited since my strength has skyrocketed, Master. However, I really feel very strong now. At least stronger than you." Tang Xiu rolled his eyes in response and angrily snapped. "You're strong enough to fight a golden immortal, so you certainly are stronger than me, dummy. Besides, you just devoured too many of my immortal crystals, to begin with." Chapter 1305, The Dark Court. Star Devourer insect's body began to morph and, after a short time, It turned into a miniature humanoid covered by a hard shell but with a human head and limbs. It burst into laughter and excitedly said, "What? I turn out to be comparable to a golden immortal expert? That's great. Awesome. No worries, Master. I just devoured your immortal crystals, but I'll repay it 10 million times in the future." Having said that, it lightly circled around and smilingly said, "What do you think, Master? Do I look handsome and cool? Well, the humans on your Earth are kind of interesting. I miss the days when I followed you on Earth, Master." Tang Xiu looked at him with a smile and said, "Then how about I send you back to Earth?" Don't mind me that thought, Master." Star Devourer Insect smiled and said, "Well, although there are many interesting things on Earth, I still prefer it here, though. God. This place has great food, immortal crystals, rich immortal force, and those intoxicating various mineral deposits are just awesome. Besides, there's my favorite master living here, no? Bah, what an ass-kisser." Tang Xiu couldn't help but roll his eyes. Suddenly, he was hit by a bad feeling after seeing the flattering expression on this guy's face. He watched it cautiously and asked, "I've provided you with tons of immortal crystals, so what are you gonna do now? You also know how vast the Chinese culture is, so you must know the saying among the Chinese to not be greedy and enough is enough, capiche?" "Master, you humans need to eat too, right?" asked Star Devourer Insect. "One doesn't need to eat if his cultivation grows strong enough," answered Tang Xiu. "But I'm still young, Master." Star Devourer Insect felt being wronged and retorted. Tang Xiu was really defeated by this fella. This guy had strength comparable to a golden immortal, yet he said he was still young? How could this Sanuva bitch, whose age only God knew many times older than him, still got a set skill to act young like this? How come he failed to notice this bastard's essence before? Just blow your fart out quickly if you got something to say. But I gotta remind you first. I have a great family here and everyone in the Great Tang Empire needs me to feed them, so if you still want immortal crystals, I'm really sorry. I want no more immortal crystals. Star Devourer Insect said, "You just need to provide ores, metals, or any materials. As long as it's not garbage, they can become my nourishment. I can also extract their essences. Master, don't you want to have a super Star Devourer Insect as your bodyguard?" No, just let me be your thug, okay? I'll definitely devour anyone you don't like, promise." Tang Xiu shot a weird look at it and asked, "It wasn't only your strength that improved, was it? It seems your brain evolved too. It was you who took me into your body, Master." Star Devourer Insect smilingly said, "I experienced what you've been through as well, so, of course, my IQ has to be improved, else I'd be so sorry for your reward." No sheets. Tang Xiu recalled all the adult things he did with his women and suddenly couldn't help but swear. But when he thought about, does this bastard even care about it? This shitty thing surely knows fart about things between men and women. Alright, I'll provide them to you later. Tang Xiu promised and put it back into his body directly. When he left Heavenly Abode Artifact and appeared in front of Gu Yan, he smilingly said, "Well, we got another golden immortal thug now, so you can rest assured. No danger will come to me later." The Star Devourer Insect actually broke through to the golden immortal stage. Its cultivation speed is really very fast. If my guess is correct, more than 35,000 monsters will soon be able to advance to the golden immortal stage too. After all, they've lived for too long and their continuous accumulation will make their strength progress by leaps and bounds, after they get the immortal cultivation arts. Let's wait and see. It won't be long before our great Tang Empire will have tens of thousands of golden immortals. Gu Yan smilingly nodded in response. But shortly after, her expression slightly changed, realizing that although she could still hold her position as the strongest in the Great Tang Empire now, a large number of golden immortals would appear the more time passed. Her position was in jeopardy. I got a breakthrough. I have to advance to the perfected golden immortal in the shortest time possible. As long as I can return to being a perfected golden immortal, I can still maintain my position as the strongest in the Great Tang Empire. Green Summit Bazaar. In a block of a remote area of Moon-Gazing City was a not-so-high building with an ordinary environment. But everyone who lived in Moon-Gazing City knew that it was a chaotic place. People from all walks of life everywhere gathered here, while brothels and gambling establishments could be found here and there. It was in such a chaotic place that a huge black market gradually established. This black market had many things that were not available elsewhere in Moon-Gazing City. For instance, many wicked things. Even things from the demon, devil, and Ashura realms could be found here. Shortly put, anyone could find anything they wanted in this place as long as they had tons of immortal stones, crystals, or crystal essences in their interspatial rings. Tang Xiu took Tang Along, Battle Pong, and several other golden immortals and dressed as ordinary cultivators as they blended in the Green Summit Bazaar. Tang Xiu's main purpose in coming here was to purchase resources for his cultivation art, the heavenly art of cosmic genesis, so the first time he did as a stranger was to find himself a guide. Festoon Dragonfly. The man was just a small-time gangster, the lowest of its kind in the Green Summit Bazaar. He was one who talked like humans to humans, acted like a ghost when he bumped into ghosts and kept changing roles according to the situation. In short, he lived a good life relying on his shrewdness. Being a guide was one of his identities, and he used it to earn extra money. However, he had been here for centuries and never once met a real loaded person nor received too big a reward. At the door of a spirit beast shop, Festoon Dragonfly leaned on the door of the shop with all kinds of boredom filling him. His eyes casually glanced around through the crowd. But suddenly, his expression shifted and his eyes locked on a group of 9 people passing by not far away. He possessed a special ability which only he knew about. That special ability allowed him to sense the aura of others. Even though the other party had all their auras restrained, he could still sense it, allowing him to be able to judge their cultivation level. An ordinary immortal with an ordinary cultivator, yet they are followed by 7 golden immortal experts? These guys are definitely not natives of Green Summit Bazaar since I have never seen them. Seeing their appearances, they definitely came here to buy something. Maybe because they're not familiar with this place, so they're just looking blindly. After the fella made the inference, he immediately greeted the 9 people with a full smiling face. While blocking Tang Xiu's way, he nodded at him and smilingly said, "Do you perhaps need a guide, sire? This little one is called Festoon Dragonfly, a walking booklet of Green Summit Bazaar you can inquire about. Whether you'd like to buy some special things or is in need of something here, just tell me. This little one guarantees that he can take you to the best place to buy whatever you'd like to purchase." "State your price," said Tang Xiu. Festoon Dragonfly was immediately excited upon hearing it and smilingly replied, "Sir, you just got yourself the best guide here, so the price for my service will be much more expensive. 2 immortal stones a day. Of course, I charge more than others for several reasons. Firstly, I can help you bargain when you buy something and I promise you that I can expose those who dare to try to scam you. Additionally, I guarantee to not take some secret bonuses. You know what I'm saying, right?" "I know." Tang Xiu nodded in response. The said bonus was for the guides who took potential patrons to the stores they were familiar with. After the patrons bought something, they would get a commission from the stores. Tang Xiu then shifted to Festoon Dragonfly and smilingly said, "You got quite an interesting name. And your self-recommendation is rather effective too. I did come here to buy some things. I'll give you 2 immortal crystals if you can serve me well." "No worries, sire. I promise you the best serve." All of a sudden, his words came to an abrupt halt as disbelief covered his pretty face. He blinked and stutteringly asked, What did you just say? You'll give me 2 immortal crystals every day and not immortal stones?" "You heard it right, Tang Shou said with a smile. Complete the task excellently, and not only will I give 2 immortal crystals every day, but also lots of rewards after I'm done with all my purchases. But the number of rewards will depend on your ability in the process. Festoon Dragonfly looked ecstatic. He nodded repeatedly and bowed. No worries, sire. This one swears to heaven that you'll get the best service this one can provide. For the next days, you'll become my heaven and earth, my parent, my benefactor. You can tell me any kind of items you'd like to buy and I'll take you there right away. So, you should know a place that sells demon stones, then, asked Tang Shou. Festoon Dragonfly was stunned before he nodded and replied, I know the things sold in the Dark Court. Most of them are items from the demon realm. Further, the Dark Court itself is also the shop with the most demon stones in the Green Summit Bazaar. Lead the way, then. Tang Shou nodded. The Dark Court was deep in the Green Summit Bazaar and extended far to one side. When everyone arrived, Tang Shou discovered that the Dark Court itself was a high-grade artifact. Aside from its defensive effect, it had no offensive feature, so it was used as a shop. As everyone entered the Dark Court, they found many booths and independent shops inside where every one of them was hosted by people who sold items from the demon realm. Are you here to buy or sell? 2 majestic men dressed in black armor greeted them. Their eyes shot a scrutinizing look at the group, and the question came from the man on the left. Buy, Tang Shou answered. The man on the left nodded and said, 1 immortal stone per person as an entry fee. Tang Shou took out 10 immortal stones and handed them to the other party as he watched them leave. Then, he looked around at the stalls and independent shops inside. Festoon Dragonfly was obviously a regular of the place since he merrily joked and greeted many stalls and shop owners.